Hi. So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how you can install desktop hypervisor on your computer, like for now on a Mac machine, and then how you can run a Linux operating system within that. So the first thing we will need is the desktop hypervisor. So on Mac, there is something called as VMware Fusion player. So that's what I'll try to use. So you just Google for it, and then you will get it in the VMware website. So I'll go download VMware Fusion. That's what I want. So I click on that, and then there are two versions, Fusion and Fusion Pro. Fusion is like free for us, so that's what I'll try to use now. Okay, so Fusion Pro player to Fusion to 12 player for macOS. This is what I want to use, and I want to use it for personal use, so I'm going to select that. Now, uh, you need a VMware account for that. Creating an account is free. I already have one. So if you don't have an account, you can click on create an account, and then you can register an account, and then you can have one. I'll go with the one that I have already. So here are my login credentials. I'll just click on login. Uh, And once I do that, it will take me to a page where it shows me that, okay, VMware Fusion for Intel based Mac. You can do this thing for both Intel based Mac as well as for your Apple silicon based Mac as well. How do you find that? Like when you just go to Apple icon and then click on about this Mac, you will see like which one do you have. Here it's Intel Core i5. That's what I have. So I'll use this one. Now, either you can click on manually download and this should start downloading. In my case, this hasn't been happening. So the way I'll do that is like I'll just like scroll up, go to downloading and installing VMware Fusion. It takes me to another tab. In that one, we will scroll down to here VMware Download Center. So there it has the thing, and then I click on go to downloads, and I'll click on download now. This should start downloading. Okay, agree to the terms and conditions, accept it. Okay, I want this on my computers. There is a directory I have called VM. That's where I need it. So I'll just click on save. So this one will start downloading. It's 621 MB. While that happens, we will also try to download the operating system itself. So I want to download, let's say, CentOS. So I go to centos.org. That website will give me the link to download the operating system. So CentOS is going to be the guest operating system, that's what we call. And in my case, currently, Mac is the host operating system. Okay, I will go with CentOS stream because that's the latest version. So click on that, and then if you are using Intel based computer, then you will click on x86-64. If you are using Apple Silicon, then you will download this ARM64 thing. So you just click on that, it will start downloading. I'll save this one as well in the same directory. So save it. And what I'll now do is, okay, this has been downloaded. Show in Finder, and this is what I see. One file is getting downloaded, but I can go ahead and then like open up this one, and it opens this window. I double click on it to install. So this should verify and the installation should start in a bit. Okay, it wants to access internet. Open, and I will give this the permission to do so. Agree. I have a license key. Yes, since it's for personal use, we get this license key. Where do I find that? Where the place where you were trying to download, this is where you get to see your license key. So in my case, this is the one that I have. So I'll like put that license key and then click on continue. Great. So I have the Fusion 12 player now in my computer. Enable to access accessibility. Okay, it needs certain permissions to run the hypervisor, so we will do that. Open system preferences and okay, unlock it. Use password. Give the password to unlock it. Let me use my fingerprint and I'll unlock this. VMware Fusion. I'll select it so it has accessibility stuff. Once done, I'll lock it back just to check if there are any pending permissions required. In general, there's nothing else. I'll close this one. Now, this is where it asks, like, what do we want to do? So, while this is there, let's see if the CentOS has been downloaded. It's like a very lengthy file. It's like 7.8 gigs, out of which 1.7 has downloaded so far. I'll let it download the rest of it. Now that we have the file downloaded, CentOS 9, I can go ahead and then install, create a virtual machine. So let's do this. Like I'll open the Fusion player, and here you get this window by going into Windows and then Virtual Machine Library. So I'm going to create a new machine, new. And in Intel-based systems, it asks you for all these options. If you are using Mac on an Apple M1 chip, like you may not get all these options. But let's say I select like create custom virtual machine and then click continue. From there, like again, not all of these options are going to be available in Fusion Player. That's meant for Mac M1. But in this case, we have all of these here. I'll anyway select other 64-bit. This one is available in both of those. I can select Linux, but I don't see CentOS 9 supporting here yet. So I'm going to select other and other 64-bit. Make sure you select this other 64-bit, not just the other, because it could create problems for you. Continue legacy BIOS, yes. And I want this to create a new virtual disk, so we will go ahead with that. On continue. And I want to customize the settings, so I'll click on customize settings. Let's call this CentOS 9. Save it. Now it shows me what options can I customize. Now a few things I want to do, at least during installation, is that like allocate more resources. So I'm going to allocate 2 processor core and then 2 GB of RAM, and that's with the processor. I'll leave the display as such. Network adapter, I want this to be connected, this virtual machine to be part of my LAN. I don't want only my Mac computer to talk to virtual machine, but if I have other devices in my LAN, I want those devices as well to communicate with my Linux machine. So I'm going to select bridge networking auto detect. So I'll let it be and then show all. And hard disk, it's 8 gigs. If you are trying to install Linux with the GUI, then you might need more. Like I would say, allocate maybe 20 GB or something. Initially, it will not consume all the 20 GB. Like as only as your hard disk grows, the virtual storage grows. Then the maximum that will take up from your physical storage, it's going to be 20 gigs. I'm going to allocate 8 GB because I'm going to install only the minimal version of CLI version of the Linux operating system. So I'll let this be. And CD DVD, here is where we need to select the boot device that we just downloaded, which is here in my VM folder. So I'm going to select CentOS. That's the 8.4 gigs file. And I want this to get connected. So I'll check this connect CD drive box, show all, and then if I want this virtual machine to have sound enabled, I can select this, or I can disconnect it. It really wouldn't matter a lot. Okay. And also my startup disk, I want it to be the CD DVD the first time, for the first time at least, because that's where I want the operating system to load from so I can install. So these are the settings we will want to do, and then I'll close this one once all of that is done. And I can simply click on CentOS, double click on it maybe, and it shows me the player and it automatically starts it. So this is my CentOS system. I will select install CentOS Streamline. So I select that. And my mouse pointer usually gets stuck into that virtual machine window. So in this window, you can see on top right, you see to release your mouse, press Control and Command. So I'll press Control and Command. My mouse gets released so I can do other things in my host operating system. Okay, let me expand this. And we will see like the file is getting loaded up, and then it will prompt us to install the CentOS operating system. So that's what's happening currently. We will let this load the installer. Okay, here we are going to have our options. I'll select English and then English United Kingdom. That's the language I want. So I'll continue. And here there are a few things that we want to configure. Keyboard UK is okay. Language support, it's English UK again. Time, let's say I want to set it to London. So I select the UK region and then it will automatically select it. Okay, so that's Europe London and then done. And installation source, that's local media, as in like where is the installation source coming from. I have specified the disk, so it is coming from there. Software selection, what type of operating system do you want to install? Server with GUI server, minimal install. If you want to use this as like your primary desktop, I mean user friendly GUI based workstation, you can select this one. But let's say I want minimal install, I don't want to allocate too much resources, so I'll just select minimal install. And on top of the minimal install, I can select what tools do I need, what additional applications do I need. I prefer to install whatever I need on the go, so I'm not going to select anything as such. But if you select minimal install, you may not have net tools, you cannot check ifconfig, you cannot do nano editor, vim editor, none of those things. You will have to manually install it. I'm completely okay with that, so that's what I'll try to do. Okay, and once this is done, I'll click on done. And the next thing I'll do is like in system it says installation destination, I want it to be this 8 gigs. You need to double click it, and once that's in the blue and then it shows the tick mark, you can click on done. And one of the things I noticed while I installed it earlier is like in the networking, if I enable IPv6 addressing, it creates problem for me. So when I go to network, it just already shows me Ethernet, which is like the operating system is going to have one virtual network interface. So I am going to configure it, and then I'm going to disable the IPv6. So go to the IPv6 tab and then method automatic. I don't want this, so I'll just disable it. IPv4 is good enough for me. And the speed between the communication of the system, my Mac host machine and this CentOS virtual machine is going to be 1000 Mbps, which is like great. So if I want to set the name for this machine, by default, if you see in the bottom right, it says its name is localhost. But let's say within the operating system, I want to use some other name for it. Let's call it CentOS 9. Because localhost as a word has different meanings in different operating systems. So I mean, like it has the same meaning, which is like it refers to itself. So but I want the host name of this machine to be CentOS 9. So I just selected that, click on done. And security profile, I don't want to set anything for now. And in the end, like when you scroll down, you see like, do you want to set a root password or do you want a user to be created? No, like you definitely need to select one of these two things. I'll create a new user for myself. Let's say Sufyan, and then I want to make this user the administrator. So whenever it needs, it can tap into the sudo privileges. And then I will set a password as well. Now that it's done, I'll click on done and then another time. That's all. We have configured everything the way we wanted. You can make the changes, but just make sure if you are installing it on Mac, Intel, and you may not need IPv6. So from network and host, get rid of that network and host, and just make sure like there is no red uh, like warnings in any of these fields. Otherwise, this begin installation field, this button will not get anything. So now that everything is set, I'll click on begin installation. Now it's going to take a few minutes and then complete the installation. So what is currently happening is like from that boot disk 8.6 gigs of file that we downloaded, it's going to install it into the 8 GB of storage that I allocated. It may not take all the 8 GB, but it will take whatever it has to. Previously, I have seen it takes like around 1 GB or something, which is completely okay. If you have like a 500 GB hard disk, your virtual uh, disk is going to consume only what it needs. You can either allocate completely or you can allocate as it grows. So I have selected even this max 8 GB as whenever it grows, it can maximum occupy like 8 gigs. So that's what's going to happen in there. Let it install and then we will continue. Great. Now that the installation has completed, I can click on reboot system and it's going to reboot the system. Meanwhile, I can do a few things. Press control command. So I get my mouse pointer back and then I'm going to disconnect the installation disk because like it's already done. So first let me shut down this machine, force shutdown. Okay, fine. And I'm going to go to settings and in there I'm going to select the startup disk to hard disk. So I want it to start from the hard disk, that 8 GB of virtual hard disk, and then I'll disconnect this file, the root file. Now that it's done, I can even choose to like lower resource allocation because with minimal install, I wouldn't need 2 GB all the time. I wouldn't need two processor cores. I can reduce it as well. Let's say I allocate only 1 GB, but still it will have like decent performance. Show all, done, close it, and I'll start the machine now. Now it's going to like boot up from the hard disk. Like, it gives two options. The first one is like the CentOS Streamline. That's what I want, so I'll select that. Now this is going to uh, load the operating system that's in that 8 GB virtual disk. So even if I delete the file of 8 gigs that I downloaded to install, it's not going to affect. Okay, now that it asks me for login, I created a user. That's how I will log in. So I'll say Sufyan is my login username and the password, whatever I set during installation, I give that and I'm in. Great. Let's check what's the IP address for this one, but it wouldn't let me access it. It just says like it does not know what ifconfig means. So I'll have to install. Let's check if this has internet connectivity. So I'll do like ping google.com and yes, I'm able to reach. I'm getting the responses. So my internet connectivity between this virtual machine from this virtual machine is like pretty set. Now I'll do like sudo yum install nettools. That's what will allow me to run the ifconfig command. Okay, now after I give the password, it will install the nettools package, and once it downloads and installs it, I'll be able to run ifconfig. And if I want to edit something, have text editor, I'll have to install Nano, Vim, all these things separately. Okay, installation is complete. Now if I do ifconfig, I should be able to see the IP address of this machine. Here you see after ENS32 in the second line you see 192.168.29.90. So I can connect to this machine from any device in my local LAN with this IP address. That's what it means. And if I want to like connect from, let's say, my Mac, I can go to terminal and then I can simply select. I can do a couple of things. One is either I can do SSH into user Sufyan, and then I could use 192.168.29.90. That was the IP address. It will ask me for the password, and then once I give the password for the first time, it asks me to ensure the fingerprint. Yes, and I give the password. It will let me into that system. You see now, Sufyan at CentOS 9. Anyway, coming back, you have your virtual machine here now. You can do pretty much whatever you want. Let's see how much free RAM is there. It tells me only 150 MB is used, and then rest of it is like either free or available for us in the buffer or cache. Then I can check like how much storage has been used. Uh, Although I have like allocated 8 GB, after giving it to other partitions, it just tells me that like where you see the mounted on the last column, you see that the root directory there. It tells only 16% has been used. 1000 MB has been used. 5.3 gigs is still available. So now you can like work with this as well, like as a pretty normal Linux operating system. So you could nano, let's say, file.txt, but this will not work because nano has not been installed. So you will want to do Selenium install nano. So whatever packages you need henceforth, you will have to install it. And once that gets downloaded and installed, you will be able to like use all those packages. Now that it's installed, I can do it. It gives me the nano editor. Well, that's all I have for now. Thank you.